Do you think that we're gonna see the same sort of manner on the part of the Trump administration in Ukraine?
No, it's completely different story. Russians already came out, and I'm talking about people like Medvedev, Lavrov, Patrushev, all big guns. They said, yeah, whatever. Ushakov today, the deputy of the president. No, he is actually the chief of staff essentially for Putin. He stated, yeah, we are ready to hear what signals they would send us, and then we'll decide if it's in worse. But there is no stopping of the special military operation, no ceasefires, no freezing. It's out of the question. The main issue is what United States will try to propose in terms of how essentially Ukraine will be finalized, because again, I wrote about this yesterday and did a video or made a video on that issue. And the issue is very simple. United States and NATO has sustained defeat in Ukraine of the unimaginable proportions. And right now, when you look at the front and you hear what is coming from the line of the combat contact, yeah, it's pretty much done deal. And again, Russians are not rushing. They don't have to, So yeah, what can I say?
How's the situation in Pokrovsk right now? Is that gonna Russia? Do we know that what would be the next step on the part of Russians?
No, Pokrovsk will be taken, obviously liberated. If you look attentively at the maps, and again, there are only 2-3 sources of maps which I accept as a verifiable. One of them is Marat Khairulin, and so yeah, Pokrovsk is essentially surrounded on the south, and on the north, Russians do the necessary blocking, strikes, tactical level strikes, so to tie whatever the remaining forces. And now, evidently, since today they are completely cut off. So yeah, it's just a matter of time. There's no necessity to throw their large, units or formations of infantry to take the city right now. The Russians are not tied by any limitations or dates or special occasions to achieve this or that. It's like the famous mythology, actually, that, oh yeah, Russians had to take Kiev in the Great Patriotic War by the 7th of November 1944 because of the anniversary of great socialist revolution. And no, it was not. It just happened that they've been already there for a long time and they just finished the job. But even that, aside, because obviously World War II was very different, Russian army operates strictly within the economy of force mode. Why should you throw people there, sustain more casualties, when you can do that slowly and take it all? It's like the famous, it's obviously very vulgar anecdote about the old bull and the young bull standing on the hill looking down in the valley, looking at this herd of cows. So, and that's exactly what it is. I'm sorry to mention this thing, but this is exactly what it happens.
Andrei, who's NATO today comparing to what it was before the conflict in Ukraine started?
Well, it's a paper tiger militarily. And again, as I said yesterday in my video, and I stated very clearly, if you imagine, of course, it's obviously what Russians call it the spherical horse in vacuum. That means it's obviously BS, so to speak. But if you imagine that, United States calls, Moscow says, okay, let's duke it out without use of the nuclear weapons, okay? So, and Russians say, okay, so let's imagine that. Of course, that's not going to happen, but and say, okay, let's start. The time goes. NATO will be defeated very fast because obviously, in this case, if we're talking about war, not special military operation, there's a whole other set of rules which operates there. And within probably an hour, the whole political top of the combined West will be annihilated. And not only, political top, but also military political top, and nothing they can do about it. and that will be it. And that's pretty much explains to you that once your command and control structure is demolished, what are you gonna do? And apart from the fact that Russia can easily uh, devastate, pretty much erase any kind of the peer facilities in the any kind of the port which capable to take any ship with a strategic lift, those ones which will be able to sail from United States to bring the troops and the equipment. And that's the whole point. What are you going to do? So you cannot do this because they have nothing which can defend against it. And Russia, as I already stated, simply demonstrated in the last 3 years uh, how backward the table of organization and equipment of NATO is. It is a legacy force stuck in 1990s, both in its strategic vision, operationally, and let alone technologically. I mean, United States still operates a very advanced ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance complex, and it also has a very state of the art, pretty much. Some of the sensors and communications and computers, but other than that, I mean, operationally they are, well, let's face it, backward. We saw what Britain, for example, well, the United States now says, oh, we didn't do that. That were British who planned it. But you saw yourself what happened at Kursk. I believe, I didn't check it in the last week, but I think so. Week ago, it was already 52,000 killed there. So they basically suicided the whole combined arms army. That tells you everything you need to know about those people. They are not good military professionals. They are good for PR purposes. They are good at terrorism, hitting civilians, but fighting real war and combined arms operations of the scale, I will repeat it, and I am on the record. So take every single field manual of the United States Army and throw it away because they are obsolete and they do not describe modern war. And can you imagine what it means to retool and retune your armed forces? It's virtually impossible when you're already behind technologically and operationally so much. You cannot close this gap. It's not like United States uses atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, and 1949 Russians, Soviet Union already exploded its own device. This is completely different. You have to rethink your whole cultural and experience DNA, so to speak, when you deal with this. But how can you do it when it's DNA? I cannot sit here. Can you imagine me saying, "Oh, I want to become Chinese," okay, and like in front of your eyes, and I turning in Chinese, or like famous song. And this has everything to do with masturbation. Actually, I think I'm turning Japanese, and things of this nature. No, you cannot do that because obviously we cannot control our DNA. We are what we are. We grew up and have been brought up in the specific conditions. NATO hasn't been brought up in specific conditions because it always have been rewriting history. It have been getting so-called experts, most of whom are not experts at all. Most, not all, but most. And as a result, they just basically fairy-tailed themselves into some kind of the parallel universe militarily. And here we are today, and look at this. Russians look like, yeah, French army or UK army, not to speak of Bundeswehr. This is a joke. This is a really joke. It's like, oh yeah, France supposed to, which is obviously the one of those NATO members, critical ones, because of nuclear deterrent. But oh yeah, they want to send 3,000 people into Ukraine. Okay, try. How long they will survive? Not very long. They will be just wiped out, and nothing France will be able to do about anything to do about it. That's the reality.
I don't know if you saw the article in the Telegraph. They're talking about
Oh,
British troops. Three scenarios for British troops on the ground in Ukraine. Are these guys really crazy talking about being in Ukraine? They know that Ukrainians were the best troops in the European countries, among all of these European countries, that they have been suffering a lot during this conflict, and they've lost a lot of most of their troops, and they're talking. Do you think is it's all about? I don't know. They're trying to play a political game, or they're really serious about putting troops on the ground in Ukraine.
It's political games, but you have to keep in mind also that, for example, military education in United Kingdom is a joke. Military Academy Sandhurst is a joke. These people really wrote the history that essentially United Kingdom defeated the Hitler. Just well, those side guys. Many of them believe that. Believe me, that tells you everything you need to know about their professional level. They have been spreading BS, parading themselves as clowns that they are. All those generals, admirals, and things. So, and when you look attentively at, for example, United Kingdom armed forces, it's a decomposing force, literally. I mean, they cannot recruit enough people to even maintain the minimal level. The only thing they will be able to do maybe by 2027, as they say that, oh yeah, full combat ready brigade. What is brigade? They say the armor brigade. Get it even today in special military operation. Forget about the war, where the real different criteria are applied for operational planning and tactics and things of this nature. What, 2 weeks maybe? And that will be it. Nothing they can do. Their air force is a joke. Well, pretty much everything is a joke there. And same applies to Bundeswehr and Spaniards. And Russians have now a field day with the Homeric laughter. They saw how French trained those, poor souls, from Ukraine. They still think that they matter. They don't. I mean, they're, as I already stated, it's pathetic Lilliputian force which thinks that it still matters. And how to put it, primarily political games and palliative therapy. And palliative therapy is usually what? It's for the cancer-stricken, palliative treatment for cancer-stricken and dying people in hospice, to get them on the morphine to, alleviate their pain and things like that. That's what they are. They always thought that they're so great. They're not. They are laughed at, and economically they're midget, and they still talk about that they put somebody. They cannot. But if they do, they all will be killed, taken prisoners or killed, and things of this nature. And they cannot live with this. The same to a certain degree applies to the United States, but the United States still remains military superpower. It's not definitely a conventional power as they try to pretend, but it is definitely military superpower, which, of course, looks on England or United Kingdom or all kinds of those NATO guys with kind of contempt, if you wish. And that's what NATO is today: paper tiger.
What comes to the Zelensky's mind when he sees what has happened to Netanyahu and how Donald Trump forced him to accept the deal? Do you think that would bring some sort of panic?
Oh, he's in panic for a long time. His clock is basically nearing the midnight for him. He's going to be offed maybe by British who guard him, SAS, Special Air Service, evidently are his guardians. And can you imagine if the guy will be taken prisoner? He will sing like a bird, my God. And can you imagine the political ramifications of that? Well, he can buy whatever villas he wants in, Florida or Italy. The problem is the guy is the dead man walking, because nobody will allow him to exist. Apart from the fact he has a lot of compatriots who would like to come for his head. And he should understand that that's why he's constantly high. I mean, people already use this phrase, which Zelensky powder. He's constantly high. He's using cocaine in evidently very large quantities, because obviously he needs to calm down his, nerves. And he was in panic for a while now. And now it was remarkable. Colonel Doug McGregor, speaking at Colonel Daniel Davis podcast, he correctly stated the United States, the Trump administration should be now thinking on how to put the guy behind bars before we decide how to execute him. He's a war criminal. and he has to be facing the tribunal, and then, well, maybe executed, because he is responsible to a large extent in going along with this insane plan, which was developed by the amateurs, military and geopolitical amateurs such as Blinken, Sullivan, and the cabal of the amateurs, the ideologue and brainwashed people. And well, those cretins from London who wanted to stay relevant and wanted to invest into just defeating Russia, getting into those, resources, and suddenly, getting themselves out into the what the crap hole which United Kingdom is today. Yeah, and I mean, like, literally, so the country simply disintegrates economically and culturally. So, and it all fell through. And as yesterday, no, not 2 days ago, Mr. Blinken was giving his parting speech. Some courageous woman came into the chambers and shouted at him what everybody knows, that he is a bloody criminal. He has the blood of hundreds, if not millions, of people on his hands, and nobody will forget who he is. So those guys, you have to understand, they do not understand. They didn't understand what kind of game they got themselves into, because they are illiterate. They are products, as I already stated, of the Western humanities education, which is brainwashing. They don't teach them anything of value there. They are ideologues. And we have the whole result unfolding now. And whatever Trump tries to do, probably Zelensky, being he is definitely sneaky type, he's not complete idiot. He probably by now understands that it doesn't matter even what Trump does. It's all about what Russians do. And Trump has very little, if any, influence on what Russians do. And Russians, as they stated just yesterday, we're going to accomplish all our aims. So there.
Andrei, I do believe that the conflict in Ukraine, when in history, would be remembered as a watershed moment, not only militarily, but economically. Look at BRICS, what has happened to BRICS since then. Look at what has happened between Iran and Israel. For the first time, Iran attacking Israel because they have learned about the defense system of NATO, of the United States mainly. And they knew how do they work and how they can defeat those air defense systems. It's all changed, Andrei, when you look at the way that BRICS is growing, the way that the partnership between Russia and China, and right now Russia and Iran, and the whole Middle East rapprochement between the Middle East is changing as well. It's so difficult to bring it back to what it was before the war in Ukraine. Here comes the question: does this administration, the Trump administration, understand the whole together, the economic part and the military part, and the strategy to deal with the new phase of the conflict they have with the East?
I don't think so. Trump administration understands it militarily, because they don't have people. When you look at General Kellogg, really, so those American generals completely discredited themselves, be them Petraeus, Ben Hodges, Breedlove, and parading themselves as the amateurs and clowns, they're coming up with. They completely swallowed still their Ukrainian propaganda, hook, line, and sinker. And so they operate on the basis of that. And that means they do not even understand operational realities. And I'm not, let me put it this way, they don't have the toolkit to understand it, because they grew up, as I already stated, based on all those basically army doctrinal publications and field manuals, which are irrelevant now to the modern war. Some people understand in Pentagon, but not in Trump administration. And what they do understand, that they sense that obviously, first, Trump was always anti-China. He always wanted to kind of have resources to kind of counter China. He doesn't want the war, I hope so, but it was much about China. And they see now that there is no any outcome other than basically, trying to dress it up as not humiliation for the United States and combined West. That's what they're trying to do. Just this PR, this fluffy, there's rhetoric, soap opera with all that. Yeah, we prepare a meeting with Putin and things of this nature, which is not true. I mean, they pretend that they, prepare. Russians say, we don't even have contacts, we haven't heard anything, so what are you talking about? But that's what they do. They are really good at propaganda and pushing narratives. The rest of it, professionally, they have a lot to learn. Okay, and even although I have to admit that Mr. Hexet, who will be the new Secretary of Defense, he had some, lucid thoughts on the issue of military balance. Military balance shifted so dramatically that at this stage, the only thing they have are some kind of the statements and PR, but reality is there is only one military power in the Eurasian continent, and that's Russian armed forces. They are the armed forces which completely dominate the battlefield, continental battlefield, and the United States never was a continental army. It was always expeditionary force, and that's how they think. And this absolutely unapplicable to the issue of the continental war. And you absolutely correctly stated that this is a watershed moment. But again, Russia wouldn't be able to do that without having the economy whose now actual size has been revealed. And fact is, as many say, that's probably even not the fourth, but the third largest economy in the world. When you consider the energy, which is the main indicator of the industrial development, and Russia outproduces United States and NATO combined in every single category, especially in the categories which define warfare of the 21st century, namely the high precision, smart weaponry. When you look at NATO combined with the United States, it's like really they produced 50 missiles for Patriot in months. It's funny, it's a joke, and that's then you go and look at what Russia produces, and it's like order of magnitude, larger. And what can I say? That is the reality which exists today, and as the result, we have the correctly stated, although they now say that there will not be full-blown military union, allied union between Russia and Iran, but definitely the strategic partnership agreement will be signed in Moscow on the 17th. We will learn more about it, who was reluctant to go full-blown military alliance. Was it Iran or was it Russia? It depends. But there's no doubt the strategic partnership is there. And you absolutely correctly stated, Israel doesn't have really a genuine Israeli air defense when it comes down to the serious air defense. We're not talking about this Iron Dome, which also was compromised. We're talking about like David Sling and all those, air defense missiles, which were supposed to defeat ballistic missiles. Those missiles are primarily it's Boeing and Raytheon, with Israeli Rafael sticking the kind, their label there that it's Israeli, it's American, and they have been completely humiliated. Iran knows how to break through, and they were doing this by actually fairly conventional ballistic missiles. Some of them have been maybe hypersonic in a full sense, but most of them have been, they flew on the suppressed ballistic trajectories, but they still ballistic missiles nonetheless. When you look at things like Kinzhal, Zircon, let alone Oreshnik, that is a game changer, period. It's just nothing you can do. And some people in the United States Army, they understand that. The Training and Doctrinal Command people write in the Parameters magazine. that, for example, the command posts of the large any kind of formations of the armed forces of Ukraine, they literally have to jump twice a day from one position to another, and in order for them not to be annihilated. So can you imagine now what this U.S. Army will do when its operational area will be wiped out, together with the command and control systems of the division, brigades, divisions, corps, and army? You lose control, you lose the war. And that's what it is. So how are you going to deal with this? They say it's impossible. And you cannot do MCON, emission control. No matter what you do, you're going to be radiating outside. And that is what essentially giving up your position and providing the targeting for the modern country. And, so Russians have excellent electronic warfare and all kinds of the ISR, including electronic scanning of the battle space. So the war changed. It's totally different. It's absolutely nothing which is described in any doctrinal document of NATO. They have been shown the real deal, and they are simply not ready. They're not even in the same league.
Andrei, what is the most advanced air defense system that the United States possess right now?
Yeah, they have the THAAD, terminal high altitude, anti-ballistic, whatever the defense system. It's all garbage. It's not capable of intercepting hypersonic weapons to start with. I don't think so. It will intercept even, serious ballistics, but the problem, of course, is that it's all designed to intercept classic ballistic, trajectory missiles. It calculates. It has a very good radar, which allows you to keep the track and, approximate to the point that you can literally, shoot those missiles, and they will meet it. They calculate the point of the way they meet, where they kill the target. This is not how modern weaponry operates anymore. This was created precisely to say, oh, yeah, Russians launch ballistics, we shoot it down. This is the most advanced. Unless, of course, you're talking about GBI, which is strategic anti-ballistic missile. And again, it's anti-ballistic. Russians, they have the anti-ballistic, and there are very serious doubts that even this GBI will do much, ground-based interceptors, but the point is, United States has nothing which can deal with the modern hypersonic weapons, let alone with the large salvos of supersonic weapons. So, and this is what Russia uses. And just simply, it's not even there. I mean, Patriot is Mr. Semyonov, Lieutenant General Semyonov, Deputy Commander of VKS, Russian Airspace Forces, stated 4 months ago, talking about Patriot, that Patriot, it cannot defend itself. Forget about defending any kind of the object. Then it's a catastrophe. It's catastrophe. It's strategic level catastrophe, because you cannot go out there and invent something, pour billions of dollars and build it. Doesn't work like that. It never did, actually. You need to have the special design school. You need to have the proper doctrinal views on those things. So in order for you to understand what you need. And yeah, Russians laugh at Patriots on those IRIS-Ts and NASAMS and all that. It's just like, this is, second tier. This is like almost, second-hand store of the air defense. And it's Russian air defense simply dwarfs it technologically and with its parameters. And they have nothing which is even remotely approaches it.
The missile that Yemenis are using against Israel is Palestine 2, if I'm not mistaken, is indigenous. It's a hypersonic missile or ballistic missile?
No. Let's again, it's theoretically most of the ballistics, of the intermediate range, for example. Yeah, it's theoretically considered hypersonic because it flies on its ballistic trajectory, with hypersonic speed. For that matter, International Space Station, which flies all obviously in the vacuum of space, it is hypersonic. It is Mach 20, whatever, it flies with the speed. But it's not a weapon, and it's not really hypersonic in a sense that sonic, air, That's what it is. Sound propagates only within the atmosphere. Most the hypersonic weapons, which are real hypersonic weapons, are those weapons which fly within Earth atmosphere, and usually fairly low, like 20 to 30 kilometers, this echelon, so to speak, and they fly with indeed hypersonic speeds, which are above Mach 5, but of course, even Kinzhal flies Mach 10, so, and Oreshnik, they say Mach 10, I doubt it, I think so it's way faster than that, but, so anyhow, the point is, that's the hypersonic weapons. And in order for you to have genuine hypersonic weapon, not ballistic missile, which accelerates, to the hypersonic speeds, and then burns out, and it slows down anyway. So, but you can see yourself the difference even when you look attentively how Iran demolished number of the positions of the Israeli bases, essentially, within the Israel. You can see yourself, some of them are fairly slow. I mean, relatively speaking, they're still very fast. But then if you look attentively at Oreshnik, you can see yourself what real hypersonic is, and whatever it was there, you can see it's fast, okay, insane. And that is the difference. So, yeah, practically most just to give you example, a famous Tochka U, which is a pretty ancient complex, at the burnout, it has the speed of Mach 5.7, Mach 6 almost. It's a ballistic missile, the theater, ballistic missile, tactical operational. And, well, yeah, formally it's hypersonic, but it's not really. It doesn't maneuver. Most hypersonic weapons maneuver. They fly within the atmosphere and sometimes maneuver violently. That is why you cannot shoot them down. There's nothing, which has the energy and physical properties which can actually, shoot them down. And you don't see them well. If you look attentively at how, for example, first Kinzhal demolished first of the Patriot air defense complexes, you could see yourself. They didn't see them coming. They actually did what? They shoot out all those, whatever they had, 20 or whatever missiles, air defense missiles at it. And then literally in 2-3 seconds after that, there was boom, and they were done. In other words, that means what? They were just desperately pushing buttons, just trying to do something about it. But yeah, Kinzhal just flew in, and that was it. And that tells you how dangerous over weapon systems those are.
So what's the point of producing these weapons again and again when they're not capable of intercepting any sort of these missiles, hypersonic missiles, just because of drones and air fighter jets?
Patriot certainly can shoot down the slow drones. It can shoot down the aircraft, those which will enter its kill envelope, so to speak. It might intercept, maybe depending on the approach, cruise missiles, slow subsonic cruise missiles. But even that, it's not guaranteed. So, and yeah, in this case, I don't know. The Russians are not Iraqis. They don't shoot single Scud and then run away. If Russians shoot something, they launch salvos. And then sometimes those salvos contain very many missiles and drones, and plus missiles, they have their own electronic warfare capabilities. They shoot off those fake targets. And as a result, people say that, I don't remember the number, but there are a dozen of the, if not more, Patriots have been wiped out together with NASAMS, which they say, oh yeah, it's net-centric. Yeah, sure, yeah. Russians have been net-centric since the 1970s, in the air defense. And that's the result. The only thing they want, the real money, it's not even the fact that they sell some, terrorist, Islamic fanatics, some kind of the weaponry and trucks and things of this nature. Well, it gives them profit, definitely. But it is nothing compared to money they make on producing extreme complexity weapon systems, which are highly ineffective, but they are very complex, very labor intensive. And guess what? Because of that, they cost an arm and a leg. The single battery of the Patriot, air defense system, I believe it's $1 billion, if not 1,025,000,000, so $1.25 billion. This is like, dude, it's, well, you saw yourself. They produce their now, well, they produce this destroyers of the Zumwalt class, $4+ billion. The thing probably won't be able to do anything, sensible. You look at their, you now have the Flight 3 and Flight 4, even Arleigh Burke class destroyers. These are decent ships, but they are already obsolete because they carry only slow Tomahawks. Maybe JASSM somehow is stuck in there. I don't know. But the point is, they go with this Aegis, SM-6 and SM-3 thing. They are designed primarily against, as I already stated, they say that supposedly they can intercept some kind of the cruise missile, anti-ship and cruise missile. I'm sure they can intercept slow subsonic cruise missiles. But when you look at actually $2+ billion, I mean, it's a fleecing. It's just absolutely, when you look at and comparing the prices and capabilities, and basically what you have today are those ships which allegedly should be defending the, obviously the heart, the pivot of the carrier battle group, the aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers became fat, slow targets. And that's what, this is different war. This is war of the 21st century. These guys are still trying to fight something from 1970s, 1980s, maybe 1990s. And you look at this, what the hell, man? And they cannot produce something good. They tried. And yeah, there is no also hypersonic weapons in the nearest future for the United States, real hypersonic weapons. There is a lot of PR and like this LRHW, which is long range, Dark Eagle, whatever the hell the name of this thing, which is still not there in Europe. So yeah, the arms race is lost, and it's lost so dramatically, and it was demonstrated empirically in the special military operation.